unique mate bond that true mates had gave her an in that no one else had, and because of that she knew he understood the desolation filling her, no matter how hard she tried to hide it. That realization only made it worse because not only was Sally being haunted by memories that were slowly killing her, Costin was suffering as well. She was hurting him and felt powerless to stop. Sally felt her breath catch as she let the bond slip slightly open. The overwhelming love and worry she felt pour into her was so much more than she deserved. She slammed the bond shut quickly before he could feel her anguish and disgust. She was dirty, tainted, and unworthy of his affection. "Cheater," she heard the darkness whisper in her mind. "Unfaithful adulterer," it hissed like a snake. Words, all true, that all described her now, though they weren't adjectives she'd imagined she'd ever be associated with. After all, who grows up thinking, "One day I'll cheat on my spouse," like the fact was something inevitable and should just be accepted? She'd grown up in a family with parents who loved each other. They weren't overly affectionate, but anyone could see the adoration in her parents' eyes when they looked at one another. She'd been taught that for a relationship to work, there must be trust, sacrifice, respect, and love. She'd always been told love was a choice, not a finicky emotion you fell in and out of. Her parents had given her a solid foundation upon which to stand with respect to relational success, but they hadn't prepared her for what to do if her mind was supernaturally wiped. There was no instruction manual for navigating the issues that came with being thrown into a life that wasn't real and pursued by a man who wasn't her soulmate. There was no book entitled Supernatural Affairs for Dummies. Where were the instructions on how to deal with those dilemmas? Where were the self-help books, the counseling groups, the pills to help her cope with the pain that came from completely forgetting the man that held the other half of her soul and giving her body to another? Sally felt him before he opened the door and entered her sanctuary. His hazel eyes met hers and held her gaze with a confidence she envied now more than ever. He stalked toward her with purpose in every step. His movements were calculated, unhurried, and graceful. He was, quite simply, breathtaking. "It's late, Sally mine," Costin's deep voice rumbled. He held out his hand to her. "I've already put Titus down. Come to bed." Her gut clenched with guilt when she heard her adopted son's name. She should have been there to say goodnight to him. She was still so very new to the whole mom thing, and sucking hardcore at it. "He understands more than you realize," Costin said, as though she wasn't keeping her mind closed from him and he could hear her thoughts. "Please, come to bed." She stood and walked toward him. Her hands shook, so she tucked them behind her back in hopes of hiding the tremors. It was also convenient because it kept them from making contact. Sally didn't deserve to touch him. She had lost the right to put her hands on him when she'd touched another male. "You look tired, bro." His words froze in his throat before he could finish the sentence that would have ended with a nickname she could no longer hear from his lips. "You need rest," he finally said, after several awkward seconds. "You could have let me know when you were putting Titus down," she said as they walked side by side, untouching, appearing more as acquaintances than true mates. True mates touched without conscious thought. The need was so great they rarely occupied the same room without touching each other in some way, the way it was supposed to be. I would have come to tell him goodnight. "I tried to tell you," he said as he tapped his temple, "but it's Fort Knox up there." She didn't know what to say, so she said nothing. They walked in silence to their suite, though she could feel his eyes on her when he periodically glanced over. She didn't meet his gaze, but simply looked down at the ground, allowing his steps to guide her. After the door clicked shut behind them and the lock slipped into place, Sally felt the all-too-familiar panic began to rise. It had started 2 days after she'd returned home. Every night when she and Costin were getting ready for bed, she seemed to grow more and more anxious. She felt as though she needed to crawl out of her own skin. She couldn't even look at the bed before it was time to climb in because it caused her to become short of breath. Sally didn't feel like she